Okay. So because I'm sharing my screen, Fidelia, could I please rely on you to let me know if there's a hand up, because I can't see anymore.
No worries. What I'm also doing at the background is I'm also making Emmanuel, one of our executives, a co-host, so that we're both letting people in and making sure everything goes well. So yes.
Okay, thank you. So let me ask before we get in, as we get into this as a start, anyone interested or willing to share, why did you make the decision to come to Canada?
For better opportunities for my children.
Okay, thank you.
Same. Better opportunity, generational wealth, just having been in the same society where I feel safe and valued and where I can thrive.
Thank you. Maybe one more.
Some of us are just joining. One more. What is the call for? You said maybe one more.
Yeah, so I asked for people to share why they made the decision to come to Canada.
Oh, okay.
Any more? No more. Okay. So use your raise hand button if you have children between ages birth to 12. So I see a few people have children within that age group. Actually, more than a few. Okay.
A lot more, actually.
Yeah, yes, I see that. So that's great. We're going to be focused today. I'm going to be providing a fairly large overview on a big topic. But I'm hoping that today will be the first of many conversations that will, and with each we'll break down and go deeper into each. Today is going to be a general overview. My goal is for us to have a conversation, and so please feel free to stop me at any time. Questions, comments, and let's just talk. So for our agenda, it's a general look. I want to give a general look of racism in Canada, and I'll explain a bit more about that as we move forward. And then we will look at our role as parents, and then we will look at some resources. So the first thing that the first place I want to start is here. This situation that, so I have, it tells me 2 participants raised their hands. Fidelia.
You said what?
I saw a note come up that 2 participants raised their hands.
No, they probably forgot to put it down.
They forgot to put it down.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks. Okay, so the first, a number of weeks ago, Fidelia called me, like 3 weeks ago, Fidelia called me to tell me about this situation that made national news about a family where the parent had been struggling, to respond to so many incessant demands from the school. And the school eventually called the police on the 4-year-old child. And then we got involved. I immediately, my organization initiated an email to report the matter to the education director of education for the school board, and copy the superintendent, copy the equity and diversity officer copied the minister and the deputy minister, and the rest is history. And it came to the forefront. But it's a case that opened the eyes of my people, and I'll explain this and why I'm starting on the basis of racism. I don't normally, when I talk with groups like this, I don't start with racism. I don't often talk about racism. I talk about the cultural mismatches and things that we need to pay attention to as a people. But I found that it's important to create awareness of the existence of these structural systemic barriers so that we can advocate more for our children. I made a presentation to a cultural association for the Family Day weekend, and there was pushback, significant pushback against the very notion of racism. People said, why do some children do well and others don't? One of the leaders there said, when children come from our countries, they come here, they don't listen to the teachers. When the teacher says sit down, they stand up. When the teacher says 1, they say 10. And so if they're not doing well, it's because they are not doing well. They choose not to do well. They can do well if they choose to do well, so it's their choice. And so I thought it's an important place to start here, to say many times there are barriers that hinder our children, and we're going to look a bit more at that. The reality is that racism exists in Canada, and that's the reality. So let's look at some questions. Anti-Black racism is alive in Canada. Who said this? This is a direct quote. Sorry, I forgot to put the quotation marks, but anti-Black racism is alive in Canada. Fidelia, any hands up, please? Who said this?
I don't see any.
No hands, okay.
No.
The Prime Minister said he recognized that anti-Black racism is alive in Canada. So I have a second quote. Of course, there's systemic racism in Ontario. There's systemic racism across this country. Who said this? To whom? On what occasion? So who said this?
I'm thinking okay, I may be wrong, but what jumped at me is the director for the Waterloo Region District School Board.
Yeah, she did say that when she took back her initial.
No, the director for the Waterloo Region, not the Catholic School Board.
Oh, yes, you're right. Yes, absolutely. He said that, but this specific quote was from by the Premier, Doug Ford. So that is to say that there is recognition of racism on the part of the leaders. So let's look at some troubling data. How many people have seen this data? If you have, please just put your hand up. I'll speak very briefly to it. I just want to draw your attention to this number. Between 2011 to 20.
Are you sharing?
Sorry?
Are you sharing your screen?
I'm sharing my screen.
I wonder what's wrong with my phone then. Okay. Please, sorry for interrupting. Continue.
No.
Please scroll.
Can other people
sliding?
Can other people see the screen?
Yes.
I can.
Okay. So between 2011 and 2016 on the Toronto District School Board, and I have to mention that Toronto District School Board is the only school board that started collecting race-based data. So they had this data to present. 48% of high school students expelled in high school or Black students, whereas Black students made up only 12% of the school board. So that's very troubling data. I'll move us forward. to the next more troubling data, we have, again, in the Toronto District School Board, you have students, it's called streaming. We'll talk about it. So you have 3 options of programming in high school. You can have the essentials program, in which you study basic communication, reading, writing, and speaking communication. And this program is for children with severe cognitive delays or learning delays who cannot learn anything beyond the basics. So they will graduate with a certificate that said they cover the essentials in school. They don't have a high school certificate. They cannot go further than high school, but they've completed high school in this general essential programming. So you will see that here, that the Black students are 3 times more likely to graduate in the essentials program than other racialized students or white students. You look at the next box in the applied courses. So those are the courses that will go to community college, but will not go to university. They will need to go back to do some strengthening courses, some academic courses before they can get admission to university, but they can get admission to community college. So you see here, 39% of Black students graduate from applied programming, 18% of racialized, and 16% white. Remember that Black students are a small, very small population, 12% of the population. And when you look at academic courses, 53% of the students in academic courses, taking academic courses, are Black, 80% other racialized students, 81% white students. So what do you think this data means in terms of expectations for your children's outcomes?
I was actually going to say that even though you're showing us data from Toronto School Board, that most of us here are from region of Waterloo, and it's important that we know, that we understand that this also happens right at our doorstep. And I say this because one of the workshops that we attended by Immigration Partnership, where they bring all the different communities together to deliberate on issues on how, so that we can have a more inclusive community. We had a student, an African student, who spoke and said that, after talking about all her challenges, and this is a student who says she knows that academically she's there because she had a lot of A's and B's. Like the worst grade she had was B, but for some reason in high school, her counselor was steering her towards college, and she's like, I want to go to the university. But he kept steering her and like making that was the pathway that she had to follow, and that eventually she went to college. And she was saying this because she was upset at her parents for not advocating for her. One, because her family was from, I think I can't remember if it's Sudan or Ethiopia, but that area. And she said her mom was always very scared of having any conversation with the school. Like it's when she went home and was telling mom that you need to speak, I want to go to the university. Mom was like, yeah, maybe just start. And that's how she eventually they steered her towards the part of college. So even though this is for Toronto, I know that it still happens here. For some reason, our children are always being steered towards college and trade programs.
Thank you, Fidelia. So it's called streaming, and the only reason why I'm using Toronto is because TDSB is the most progressive school board. They are the only ones that started intentionally collecting race-based data. The MPP for Kitchener, Linda May Lindo, just had her bill. She put a bill forward, a bill for the Education Act, Bill 67, and part of what she's calling for, again, is a reminder for school boards to be required to collect race-based data. So in 2017, the Ontario Human Rights Commission required that school boards begin to collect race-based data, but school boards are not collecting that. So TDSB is the only board that has this data, and because they are the most progressive school board as well, they have more resources in place to address these gaps that the data reveals. Other school boards do not yet. They are putting things in place. Things are changing slowly, but it's very slow. So when you look at the data and think about the expectations in terms of your children's outcomes, so keep that. If anybody wants to speak at this time, please, you're welcome to do so.
Hello, my name is Mercy. I just want to ask if I know Black students would probably face issues at home. Do the fact that Black parents do not have time to look into the academics of their kids also influence this data? Because we're all busy working, and coming from where we're coming from, we leave the education of the kids to the hands of the teachers. So we're not there to actually ensure that these kids are doing well in school, checking up on their homeworks because we're also busy. Does that impact how well the kids do at school?
Absolutely. That would have an impact on how well the children do at school. But it is worthy of note that in 2020, Black students achieved better in the year of COVID when they were studying from home. Black students achieved better overall than when they were in school. So the grades for the Black students across board were higher than when the children were going to school. And that's very significant.
Wow, that's significant.
Yes. So that was published, that was studies that studied, that was published. So it speaks about what Black children are experiencing in school that serves as a greater barrier to their achievement, more than their parents not checking on their work.
Okay, so to their mental well-being then.
So there are several other things at play that serve as barriers at school.
What do you want us to do?
Okay.
Are you not tired?
Alexander, can you?
Okay, so
Please, can I ask every one of us to mute, please? Thank you.
Remember to unmute when you're going to speak. So let's look at one more body of data, and I put this here because when I talk to West African people, they tend to say, oh yeah, no, it's you know, those Jamo, you know, the Caribbean people, it doesn't apply to us. Continental Africans, no, not us, we do well. But here's data from Statistics Canada that shows, I'm just going to bring us here. This is third generation, this is second generation. The thick yellow line indicates Black women. The blue line, the thick blue line indicates other women, immigrants. The broken black line indicates other men, and the broken yellow line indicates Black men. Oh, let me bring us back. So look, second generation, you can see that the Black men have dropped lower. Black men at the first generation, that's our generation, first generation Black men male are quite high and women are lower in terms of university degree. By the second generation, you see the Black men have gotten lower and the Black women are high. See the third generation, Black men and Black women are low. So there's something about the system that pushes our men and our women, our children. It's documented, and this shows some of the evidence. It's documented that in the next generation, they go lower in education attainment with regards to completing university. And the third generation, even much lower. Personalize it and bring it to speak to us as Nigerians. We've looked at some data, and I intentionally put that data together because continental Africans typically are not happy to face the evidence of racism. So we prefer to look at the role of the person. Everybody should be responsible for their own outcomes. And that plays a part, but the fact that racism is systematic, is institutionalized, must be recognized in order to know how to address it. So now let's bring it to us personally, to speak to us as Nigerians. How can we overcome these systemic barriers? So we are blessed, we have existing strengths, and then there are things that we must do. So let's have a discussion first about the strengths that we have. So one thing that I find in the field that serves us extremely well is a strong identity and sense of self. So we come in with, we are from a very strong culture, we're strong people, we're very clear-minded, we know what we want to achieve, we go for it. We have no doubts or very little doubt, it doesn't show about ourselves. So when you talk to a Nigerian, so I'll give you an example. I have a job posting out. I had 2 positions in my organization that I advertised for. Several of the applicants were Nigerians. Most of the time, they did not have the qualifications. So part of the qualifications with experience addressing anti-Black racism in Canada, they did not have that, but they interviewed to say, yeah, well, I'm new in Canada, I don't have that, but here's how I've done this and that in Nigeria and stuff like that. So I'm in the interview and I'm thinking, yeah, no, you don't have opportunity to address anti-Black racism in Nigeria. But there's a confidence with which they present themselves. Like, yeah, no, I'm new, I've only been here for 1 year, so I've not really done this, but I've done this in Nigeria, and this is how I've done it. So there's that strong identity that we come with. It stands us in extremely good stead. There's a low level of attention to or awareness of racism. And so Nigerians don't go about the world with, they're navigating their everyday experiences with that chip on their shoulder, like the expectation that I will face problems, I'm going to have difficulties, I'm going to be scored low because of my skin color. That expectation is very low, almost very, very minimal, sometimes non-existent. And it's a good thing because then we're able to go talk to the teacher, go do things that we need to do without the fear, overcoming that fear in the mind that, oh, I'm Black, how are they going to take me? We often don't have that. That's a great thing. We also have high academic expectations. This is a good thing, can also be a negative thing, but there's a sense of, oh, no, what are you doing? No, you can do it with our children, and lots of encouragement and support to attain a certain standard. So I said that's a good thing. It can also be a negative thing, and we'll talk about that, but for now, it's a strength. And then we're resilient. We know, we're very resilient people. You face hardships, you go for interviews. I talked to Nigerian parents. Among all the West African families that we deliver the Student and Family Advocate Program for, Nigerian parents are the one group that consistently say, I'm going to pull my child and put them in a private school. So the ability to say, no, I'm going to take decisions into my own hand. I'm going to bring it under my control. I'm going to do something about it. We have the ability, there's a strong ability to bounce back in the face of trouble. And that's incredible. So those are some key areas of strengths. Are there any other strengths that you think we have that I've missed?
I think that we are very community oriented, so we look out for one another.
Awesome. Okay. So let's look at what do we need with all these strengths. We have a lot going for us. What do we need to pay attention to? So here's what we need to pay attention to. I said at the beginning that we're going to do broad overview because it's important that I'm not putting out so much information and then it's overwhelming. We're going to take it, like get a general overview, and then with another opportunity, we will take a specific area that you want to delve more into, and we'll delve more into that and provide more information. So here, just a general overview. The things that we need to pay attention to are children's identity and sense of self. So what I mean by that is that when you think of yourself, there is no doubt in your mind that you are who you are. You are Igbo, you are Calabar, you are Nigerian. You've grown up in a country where the lawyers are mostly Black, the doctors are mostly Black, the president is Black, the vice president is Black, the teachers are mostly Black. Everywhere in society around you, all cadres, all echelons, you are made up of your own people. So you've never needed to question yourself. You've never learned based on your skin color that there are places that you can't access. Those are not the implicit messages that your children are gaining every day. When your children go to school, most of the teachers are white. When they turn on the TV, when they're watching TV, most of the people in positions are white. Most of the leaders are white. So the intrinsic identity that you have yourself, you don't doubt, there is no sense of, oh, I'm not good enough just because I'm Black. You don't have that, but you need to pay attention to providing opportunities for your children to get that sense, to recognize that color is not a barrier, to find role models in people who are of the same color, to look at leaders, to identify key things that people who share their skin color have done, amazing things. That's what the Black History Month is for, except that in your home, Black History Month is not the month of February, it's all year round. It's a dedicated effort to bring everything Black, everything proud, everything strong to their attention. It's in the books they read. It's in the stories you tell of Nigeria. It's in the discussions that you have when you don't know that they can hear you, or the intentional discussions that you have when you know they can hear you. It's in speaking your language to them. So I know that we are from a colonized background, and colonization has this long-lasting impact, so that we grow up with a sense of a stratification. If you speak English with a foreign accent, then you are higher. If you are somewhat, if you go to school in England, then you are better. If you go to school outside Nigeria, whoa, you are the ruler. And then it goes down to the local. If you speak the Nigerian language, then you are told that you are speaking vernacular and stuff like that. But here, we need to put that thinking aside and recognize that our cultural identity gives us our self-esteem. Without helping your children build a strong cultural identity, a strong sense of pride and belonging, then they don't have that strength that you have. So how do you transfer your language to your children? How do you help your children get a strong sense of, yeah, well, I'm Nigerian, I'm Canadian, but I'm Nigerian, and Nigeria is this and this, and we're very good at this, and we're very good at this, and get a strong sense of pride in themselves? Because this, research shows, makes a very big difference between children who will do well, children who will stand up through the barriers, the adversity that they will face in school, children who will come through that well, and children who will not come through that so well. So a strong sense of identity. What we need to pay attention to, helping our children develop a strong sense of identity and self with relation to cultural pride. A pride of being their skin color, a pride in their culture. If possible, maintaining the home language. Home language is key. Children will pick up English very readily. And I'll give you an example. We have children whose family don't speak any French, and many of you would know this. Some of you have children in French immersion and you don't speak French. They pick up the French. We have people from our West African, English-speaking West African community who have chosen to put their children in the French board. They don't, not French immersion, the French board. They don't speak French at home. The children go to school, they struggle in kindergarten the first few months, and then they begin to speak French. And they speak French fluently, and they speak English fluently, and they speak the home language if the parents give them the home language at home. So I would encourage you to think about this. How do you transfer your language to your children? There's no reason to speak English to them. If you have a capacity in your home language, there's no reason to speak English to them, unless you choose to. So being intentional about what you're doing is very important. The other area that we need to pay attention to, please stop me at any time. I can't see if you put your hand up. So Fidelia, I'm depending on you for that, please. And please, everyone.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. I'm going to speak for myself because I know that I'm very guilty of some things. I don't speak my language. And as much as now more than ever, I wish I could speak my language because I understand, I'm sorry. I understand what you mean. Like I see my Indian friend who they never spoke English to the daughter at home, and she speaks English now in school. So I see the value in what you have just said. So for those of us who cannot pass that language on, what other ways can we really build this self-identity for our children? And again, I'm going to use myself as an example. I know that one of the things that I have observed is because we speak so negatively of our country in front of our children, and we don't even realize that these kids are like sponge and they pick up on these things. It was the day my son said something negative about Nigeria and he hurt me. And I realized, well, you're the one who's been saying it in front of him. Why are you complaining now? So I also know that's one area where we failed as parents, and we're doing better to change that. But what other ways can we build this self-identity for our children so that they're proud to say we're Canadian, we're Nigerians, but Canadians, you know?
That's a very important question.
Suggestion?
Thank you.
Suggestion?
Yes, go ahead.
Because I have an issue with language. But the reason is because my husband is from another tribe in Nigeria. And so I'm Yoruba. If he encourages me to speak Yoruba to them, because he doesn't even speak his own native tongue where he's from in Nigeria. But the challenge is still the fact that it's a struggle for me trying to help them. Maybe I've not tried hard enough. I always said, even right from Nigeria was a challenge. But back to what we're saying, one thing that I've tried is I go to YouTube a lot. So I gather my family and I could play things like Nigerian programs that I used to know. I'll just look for it on YouTube. Any Nigerian TV program that I was ever aware of, you understand? I'll just look for it on YouTube. My kids now, sometimes they will ask that they want to watch Emanuela. Some are comedies. So I was going to ask, would it be a good idea to actually make pidgin your own Nigerian language in your home? I don't know what you think about it, but I know my kids, because sometimes that's what I do. I speak, my husband is from Warri, Axis. So, the Warri pidgin is a very funny way to speak pidgin indeed. So my kids actually like it and love it. And you see them, trying to practice it and say it in funny ways. So I'm just saying, I don't know what others may think about this, but just consciously looking for things that are Nigeria related on YouTube. Because YouTube is so popular and there's so many things on YouTube now that you'll be surprised about. There was a time I went to look for past Nigerian football matches on YouTube. So it's just for you to come up with some ideas in your mind and just search YouTube, Tales by Moonlight. You might be surprised what you'll find.
Thanks, Ibiyemi. That is absolutely phenomenal. Fantastic.
Can I contribute?
Absolutely, please.
Okay, Ibiyemi, that was fantastic. Like you literally read my mind. And something else I thought of is kind of to corroborate what Patricia had said is we put our children in French school, I guess because Canada is bilingual. But I think about people who, because I do have a lot of friends, or I've encountered a lot of people who don't speak their native language, their native Nigerian language. And so they struggle as to how to pass on some kind of culture to their children. And I say, okay, if you don't speak, and some other people will say, oh, I speak one language and my husband speak the other, and I'm worried that he might be concerned that the kids, are speaking a language he doesn't understand. I'm like, but the kids speak French, which both of you don't understand, and you don't have a problem with that. So I don't think it should be a problem if they speak one person's language or the other. That's one. On the other side is, if you do not mind, even though you can't pass on your own mother tongue to your kids, how about let them learn any other Nigerian language that's available? They would at least have a sense of identity, being able to speak. So if they were to be in a common place with people who speak that language, they can speak one Nigerian language. It could be Igbo, Hausa, it could be whatever. Because I have friends who speak more than Yoruba. I am Yoruba, and I have friends who speak Hausa and or some that speak Igbo. When they come into the circles of Igbo speaking people, they have an advantage, or they have an edge over me who only speaks Yoruba, for example. Right. So I would say that if you can, then let your kids go learn any Nigerian language that is available to them. I know that in this region, we have Igbo and we have Yoruba classes available. So let them join any of those and learn, if you do not mind that, because then they can say that I speak one Nigerian language. The other is Pidgin that she had said. In my house this morning, we were joking about languages and what things sound like in English versus what it is called in Yoruba. And we talked about Pidgin English as well. And so my kid was like, oh, somebody said Tisha, and we're like, no, Tisha is not Pidgin. It's actually, I don't know what to call it, way of saying teacher in Yoruba, but Tisha is Oluko. However, if you were to speak Pidgin, there's nothing wrong with that. So you've said it before, is that in presenting ourselves, we grew up with a sense of right and wrong. Yoruba is vernacular, so it is wrong. Right. And English is the right way to speak. Or somebody speaking with a Nigerian accent, so it is wrong. You should speak with a foreign. So I tell my kids, if anybody tell you have an accent, you should be proud about it, because it means that you speak more languages than they do. It is only somebody who has a different language who then has an accent. If you do not have a different language, you would only speak in one way. So you should be proud about whatever accent you have, and be proud that you have one language above what that person knows. That's why they're telling you have some accent. So that's what I think.
Sorry, what you said now about accent just made me really laugh, because someone shared something with me recently. Sorry that I'm butting in. I really can't see others. If others raise their hand about accents, as in a Chinese was telling a fellow African that he had an accent or something. I can't remember what it was. And the guy was like, you have an accent too. As in, I beg your pardon. So I just feel that's really funny in terms of the accent thing, because come on, what would you say of the Indians then if you're talking about accents? But the Indians do not care. They don't send you. Half the time you're not even hearing what they're saying, and they are the ones that are everywhere. So it all has to do with how you choose to look at it too.
These are very great ideas and very successful ideas to achieve what you want. It takes intentionality. So in various school boards, in addition to what the ideas, the suggestion to look for fun programs on YouTube, to put children in language classes, to speak Pidgin English. I love that, to speak Pidgin English at home. It gives children, like my daughter would say, she speaks Pidgin purposely, intentionally, when she's with me and we're outside, so that people will ask, what are you speaking? And she said, oh, we're speaking English. And then you say, what, English? She said, yes, speaking English. It gives her a very strong sense of pride to speak Pidgin English. But aside from those, there are several other things that you can do. One is several school boards across Ontario, across Canada, but let's focus on Ontario. Several school boards across Canada have what is called a heritage program. So you want to check your school board to see if they have a heritage program, because if you have up to 15 children who speak the same language in the school board, then the school board has to employ a teacher to teach that language. So it's something that you could discuss in Waterloo region if you're part of the same school board to determine, okay, how many children do we have who speak Igbo? How many children do we have who are from Yoruba speaking homes? And see if Waterloo School Board, public or Catholic, has the heritage language programs. You can apply for the teacher. If they do, you can apply to have a teacher in the various languages if you have up to 15 children who speak that language. Beyond that, you can intentionally socialize with others. There are lots of things, even aside from socialization, let's say COVID, you can stop speaking, very importantly. So there's the covert messaging and there's the overt messaging. So the overt, what we are saying constantly and what we are sinking into our children's spirits are different things. We can be telling our children, you should be proud to be Nigerian, but if all of our conversation, like Fidelia pointed out, is negative about Nigeria, then we are telling them to be ashamed. We're teaching them to be ashamed of Nigeria. We're teaching them to distance themselves from Nigeria. So if you say to your children, oh, we're going to Nigeria this summer, and they say, no, I'm not going, then you know that you need to change your messaging. In your daily conversation about Nigeria, you need to draw that line and make sure that they're in bed, they're asleep before you start your griping about everything that doesn't work in Nigeria. There are lots of fun ways to engage children in their culture. There are lots of storybooks. You can make storybooks with children. Get family pictures, put them all together. Build the family tree of stories, make up stories about their great-grandfather, get a picture, get them to write the story with you. Let it be a family tree that turns into a whole storybook project where you insert some words in your language, but more important than the words in the language is the message that you are giving them about who they are, where they come from, what stock they are made of, where they can describe their home. They may never have been there, but they know the whole stories. They know the funny stories. They know the stories of strength. They know the stories of marriage. They know the stories of people being silly. They know the stories of swimming in the stream, of farming, of finding whatever you choose to make it. It's their own family story, and then you can expand it to the story of their state, to the story of their country, to, intentionally do things like that. Intentionally buy books that are based on Black people, especially Nigerian people. Talk about the icons from Nigeria. Talk about the leaders, the elders. You may not be proud of them, but your children don't need to know that. Talk about Nnamdi Azikiwe. Talk about the people, about leaders. Make it into fun projects. Give them a strong sense of, wow, this is who I am. This is where I come from. It's important to do that because that gives them a good sense of esteem, self-esteem, and they need that. It's critical that they have that. So I thought I saw someone had their hand up. Did Fidelia, did anybody have their hand up?
Someone had their hand up, but before I proceed, there was a feedback from one of us that so I guess I'm asking you, how do you want this to proceed? Do you want us to continue to be interactive? Because there was a feedback that maybe you should finish your presentation and then we attend to questions. But I thought I got the sense from you that you wanted it to be interactive. So how do you want us to proceed?
Interactive. If there's any point that I'm talking about and people have contributions, please, by all means, let's make it interactive.
Because this person was just worried that you may be thrown off course. So that was our concern.
Oh, no.
So are you good?
Yeah, I'm good.
Yes. Okay. So Cynthia Iheanacho had her hand up. Do you still have any question, or has she covered what you wanted to talk about?
Yeah, she has. Thank you, Patricia. I was going to talk about the heritage program that the school boards are doing. So we have one now. My son actually, they do it on the Igbo language. They do it on weekends. I think it's Madam Grace. I think we know her. She's in our group too. She's in our Nairo group. She and one other keyboard
Aramide.
teacher. Yeah.
Aramide does for the Yoruba.
Okay, great. So we are doing well.
Okay. So something else that we need to pay attention to, cultural mismatches. So there's one significant fact that happens here that I find that people don't quickly recognize. Back in Nigeria, when people have children, you almost never have to raise the children by yourself. There will be mothers-in-law, mothers, neighbors, cousins, housemates, several people around who participate, who partner in raising the child. So dad and mom don't have to do all the work. Actually, they do very little of the parenting work. So at home, if the mom calls a 4-year-old child and the child doesn't respond, a cousin, somebody will say, don't you hear your mom is calling you, go. Where are your ears? Run, go, your mom is calling you. So we don't realize how much support, how much help we have at home. And so that when we come here, we don't realize that, oh, the children don't have this community of support around them. They are actually very isolated and very lonely. Lots of times people don't realize that. It's just me, mom, dad, and 2 children at home. Mom is very busy, dad is very busy, and so the children go to school, get your food, go and watch the TV, go to sleep, you are going to school tomorrow, and that's it. But the children are lonely. They don't have that community of support that they would have had, that you had as a child growing up, that they would have had at home. So there has to be intentionality in recognizing that and closing that gap. It becomes our job as parents to specifically spend time with our children to close that gap, to create networks where we can have people who can spend time around, maybe on the weekends or holidays, but on a daily basis, spend time closing the gap. It means making time to put your phone away, to put your iPad away, to put your work away, even if it's for 30 minutes. To say, okay, children, I'm on the ground with you, I'm joining you, I'm spending time with you. So that's one thing. But in terms of the parenting, the way we talk to our children, we have to pay attention to the fact that the culture here, where every time you open your door, they are stepping into a foreign land. So if you set up your home so that you have to get your voice to a certain pitch before your children know that you are serious, then you know that you need to change that, because that pitch will not exist in school. Children get used to tuning their parents out, and I see it very often because I very often visit or have families come to see me. I worked with Ontario Early Years, now it's called Early On. I worked as a coordinator in that program for many years in the west of Toronto, and I saw the same thing. So when children get used to the parent always say, why are you not hearing me? Are you not here? I'll beat you. And until the child hears, I'll beat you, before they know that you are serious, then you need to change that, because you are not recognizing that they will not have that. There will be nobody who will threaten them. There will be nobody to raise their voices up when they go out. And so they have not developed the skills to self-regulate without the regulation coming from outside. So you need to provide a platform within your home that helps your children know how to listen, use their ears, listen to soft voices without you reaching your hand out and grabbing them. It means you need to lower your voices. It means you need to come down, squat down to your child's level and wait for them to respond to you when you talk to them. It means you need to hold their faces to make sure they make eye contact with you and you pass the message that you want to pass to them. It means that you need to think about logical consequences. So if my child has eaten say, I've put something on the table, say puff puff. I've said, do not eat it. Well, that's kind of a silly example because it's my responsibility to, well, let me go with that. I put puff puff on the table. I have 6, 7, 8-year-old children at home. I put puff puff on the table and I've said, please don't touch this puff puff. We're having some friends over. So nobody touched the puff puff. And I come back, and Patricia has eaten puff puff. This puff puff, it has gone down. Oh. What happened to the puff puff? And they say, oh, Patricia ate it. To Patricia, what would be the logical consequence to Patricia eating the puff puff? Like, what makes sense as a logical response to, okay, now Patricia has eaten some of the puff puff. What would be logical? The most logical would be, okay, well, you've eaten, did somebody want to say something?
I was going to ask, how old is Patricia?
Patricia is 7. Patricia is 6.
Yeah, so Patricia have already eaten her part now. So when others are eating, Patricia should just be looking.
Exactly. So you as the parent don't need to lecture, you don't need to talk, you don't need to shout, you don't need to recriminate, you don't need to make Patricia feel ashamed of herself. Patricia, oh, I'm happy you've eaten your share of the puff puff, that's it. The rest is to be looking. That is it. No need for discussion, because going into discussion is rewarding Patricia for bad behavior. Now she's having all this attention focused on her, and she did something wrong. Whereas the children who did not eat the puff puff are ignored. So you want to focus your time on commending, oh, wow, George, you didn't eat the puff puff. Very good listening ears. I'm very proud of you. Henry, you did not eat the puff. I'm so proud of you. Patricia, I'm happy for you. You've eaten the puff puff. That's it. That's it. That's it. So sitting down, both parents, or as many parents and grandparents are available in the home, looking at the strategy for raising the children and intentionally putting a structure in place to guide you. You want to think about, what do we want to achieve with these children? What are our goals? What are our dreams for our children? Not dream like lawyer, doctor, but what kind of people do we want them to be? And then develop the strategy. How do we get them here? What are the things that we need to put in place? How should we talk to them? How do we want to relate to them? How do we transfer the skills that we want them to have? How do we teach it to them? So that's one, parenting style. Then taking time to build positive, please stop me at any time. Taking time to build positive parent-child relationships, spending time, looking for fun projects, being available. Now, okay, we're putting cell phones away, we're putting everything away. It's just me and you. What would you like to play? In early childhood development, we call it focused play, a time when your child becomes the boss and you become the follower. A time where they lead, but it's in play, where they bring their play materials, they bring their crayons, they bring their toys, they bring their blocks. You sit down on the floor with them and they tell you how they want you to play with them. You're following them. And in that time, you're talking to them. You're listening to what they have to say. As you're drawing and you're writing, and what would you like me to write? And he or she tells you what to write and you write it. Does that look good? What else would you like me to do? You're building a sense of safety and security. They can trust you. Spending 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes. Mom is really tired now. Dad is really tired now. But I will spend 10 minutes with you every day at 7 o'clock. Every day is your day. Patricia, 10 minutes at 7 o'clock every day, I'm going to be on the floor with you. We're going to connect. Intentionally making that time, because at home in Nigeria, your child had people who they were connecting with, sometimes for not so good outcomes, like in cases of child molestation, where the child is so securely connected with a member of the household so that they don't tell what's going on. But recognizing that there are no supports here, it has to be you. So making that time so that they can connect with you, they can develop a sense of security, deep security. It is that security that will make them trust you and come to tell you when things are happening. It is that security that will make them trust you with deep secret information that they wouldn't share. So it's very important that you take time to build that positive relationship with them. And it happens through play. It happens through getting engaged in what they are interested in and following their lead. So we can talk about this. There's a whole strategy. It's called observe, wait, and listen. So OWL strategy: observe, wait, and listen. Observe what your child is doing with the materials. Wait to see what they're going to do. Listen to hear what they're going to say, how they're going to instruct you. Follow them, and then observe, wait, and listen. In that playtime, that's your job. The impact of that strengthens the bonding relationship between you and your child. You cannot compromise that.
Can I say something?
Yes.
I think I'll start by saying that Ekere and myself already believe that we already know that you're talking to us because we are very centered on this table. So I know that as a parent, I get the parenting style, and I know that we wish that we could use that soft voice. But sometimes when something is just a part of something that you've just grown with, and that's the only way you know, sometimes we find ourselves already yelling before we even remember that we've told ourselves no more yelling. So how do we unlearn this part of us? Because I know that I'm very guilty of that yelling aspect. I do it, and my son corrects me like, "Mom, what you said? No more yelling." And then I'm like, "I'm sorry." How do we unlearn that part?
Would anybody like to share a successful strategy that they have adopted?
TSN or Labukola?
Yes, please. So I still have the same challenge actually, but there are two things I do, and I learned this from someone. She said the first thing is to change the way I look at the child, that I should learn to look at the child not only as my child, but as an equal creation of God, right? So the fact that that child is a child, or my child, doesn't mean that they are less special in the eyes of God. So I shouldn't, look at them like just my child and being subject to me, right? And then the other thing is that I should try to control myself by thinking, what if this child was my colleague? Like my colleagues in the office, they hurt me, they do all sorts of things to me. And can I really shout at them? So am I shouting at this child only because I can? Right. So those two things help me a lot. I still struggle a lot, but I think I'm definitely not where I used to be. Like I was screaming constantly before, but I'm a lot better now. I still scream, but a lot better.
Any other successful strategies?
Hi, good evening. This is Genevieve Udekwu. I would like to contribute. For me personally, yeah, it does get difficult sometimes when you do not want to raise your voice at your children. I learned this from my mom. She would say, just take a deep breath, and then just reduce your voice, to a whisper. And when you're speaking to them, just kind of whisper. And in the process, if you're really, really upset, that tends to gradually reduce. So you find that you're not screaming at them. You're like talking to them really with a very, very low voice. And you just keep breathing, trying to do like the breathing exercises to calm yourself. So it comes a lot. It has to do a lot with you trying to calm yourself and not be so anxious and upset. Because when you do that, your kids would know you're really angry. If they really want to get to you, they will get to you. They will know your reaction. So when you're calm and you're not upset, then they get to wonder, okay, so why isn't mommy upset? I thought she would be upset if I do this, but she's not upset. In that way, you see that you are succeeding. You're being the parents and you're not being an equal or being bringing them up to your level and trying to say, okay, well, this is how we're doing it. Both of us are here. We're all here. I can talk to you however, we can talk to each other however. They see that you are in charge. And that way they get to pay attention more often. So that's been my strategy.
Thank you. Sholakpe Adebajo has her hand raised.
Everyone, just to add to what everyone has said, because I agree with what the last two speakers said. Something that works for me is if I need my child to do something, I'll start reminding them like probably 5 or 10 minutes, like, okay, we're going to have a shower now in the next 10 minutes. When it's 5 minutes, okay, it's 5 minutes time. Or if I need him to pack his toys, you need to pack your toys in the next 5 minutes. So somehow he's hearing it, but he's still playing. But when it gets to the point where you need him to stop what he's doing, you already heard it. He might not be happy, content with it, but the thing has been ringing in his head. So somehow he'll like grumble and all of that, but he'll still end up doing it. So that's just a tip that might work. It's still a work in progress, but it works at least most of the time. Thank you.
Thank you. There is no fixed, 100% of the time that something works. With children, no. Any other tips? Okay, something else that you can do is to put two things. One, put reminders, visual reminders for yourself. Write notes or create notices. Get your child to help you create these notices, and not as I'm shouting because of you. See what you are making me do now. I don't want to be shouting anymore. It's because of you that I'm shouting. Not that. Getting your child to say, I need you to help me, Mom is really struggling in this area. Dad is having a hard time in this area. And so I need your help. Can we make messages to put up on the wall to help remind Daddy to use a quiet voice at home, inside the house, even if I'm mad? And so getting your child to help you with that will help regulate you when you look at the sign that they've put up. Something else to do, and that's helpful for your child, is it's helpful for your child to see that you struggle in some areas, because they struggle in some areas, and the way you handle the weakness in your struggles helps them learn to navigate the weakness in their own struggles, so that you don't want your children thinking, oh, I'm so stupid, I keep doing this wrong, I can't get it, oh, I'm so stupid. You don't want that. You want them to gain a sense of, oh, well, I didn't do so well at this today, but I'll try again. I'm a work in progress. I'll try again. It's okay. It's not the end of the world. So recognizing that, oh, I'm so sorry. I did it again. I yelled, even though we've made all these signs, we've done all these things, we're doing the breathing. Okay, I forgive myself. I'm sorry. I promise not to yell at you. I'm going to apologize now, and then I'll do better. And then you're actively working to do better. That's a very strong role model for your child. So don't go away feeling like, oh my goodness, I'm so horrible. No, it's a learning opportunity for your child as well. How you handle it is teaching them a very important lesson. You can also handle it with them. So take time together to breathe. Like one of the speakers talked about breathing. You can take time with them to breathe. So when you're angry, you take the time to breathe or to count, to say, okay, I need to take a deep breath. I'm really angry. I'm really angry right now, and I don't want to talk to you right now because I'm really angry. So I'm going to take the time to breathe, and then I'll come back to talk to you. And so doing that, and then teaching them how to do that, so that when they are angry, that will be what they fall back to. So there are lots of strategies that you can use. but find something now, try different things, find something that works for you and maintain it. But something that one of the speakers said, I'm sorry, I didn't see, aside from the name that popped up on my screen, I didn't see the names of the people talking. But something that one of the speakers said reminded me of something very important that I didn't put on here, and that is establishing routines at home. So children often feel very disempowered because they don't know what is happening next. So they come back from school, let's say they started school, they wake up in the morning, they do what they need to do, they go to school, they come back, and then if everything that they are doing depends on your mood, then they feel very disempowered. So you have to tell them, okay, now it's time to eat. Then tomorrow it's time to go out. And then next tomorrow it's time to watch TV. And then every day is different. Then they don't know what is coming. They have no control over the environment. And so the behaviors that they will exhibit will be the behaviors that you don't want. It's important that you sit down, take time to create a structured schedule for them for during the day, not 30-minute blocks of time, no. But when you come back from school, you have, let's say, you have some quiet time, you can do coloring or read a book, you have a snack and relax. Then at this time, it's time to sit at the table and read a book related to school, do your homework, something related to school, and then you have free play time and then this time is dinner time, and then you have free play time, and at this time we begin to put all your materials away because it's time to go get ready for shower or bath and then bed. And so the structure is about the same every day, and the weekend structure is similar. They have an idea. So you can have blocks of time where you say, we'll go visiting maybe, or free play, something like that, so that they know that within this time, it's my time. But you also respect that time. So when they're doing it's free play time, it's not the time to say, go and bring daddy's shoe, go and bring mommy's phone, so that they know that, I'm in control of this. And within those, you set very clear boundaries. And inside of those boundaries, they have so much freedom. They have so much self-determination. So it supports their leadership and self-regulation skills. The last part of the cultural mismatch is socialization. So one of the key challenges that our children have when they start school is that they have not been socialized. It's consistent across board that they haven't learned how to listen. They haven't learned to sit and focus on things. So, when children start school, they don't need to be sitting down for 30 minutes or 45 minutes. And that's not what kindergarten is about at all. It's about play, learning through play. But children need to be able to calm themselves down and get engaged in something. They need to be able to pick up a book, turn the pages, determine that, I don't like this book, and then put it away. Not take the book and fling it up in the air and take the ball and throw it up in the air and run around and grab what they want and run back and stuff like that. And those behaviors that we culturally we tolerate is a big mismatch in this culture, in the school culture. You have to think about it as you have one teacher with 28 students or 30 students. And I just learned that the number of teachers, ratio of teachers per student is actually bigger than what is reported publicly. Because when they are calculating, when the Ministry of Education is calculating, or when school boards are calculating the ratio, they count all the teachers, the librarian, the guidance counselor, they count all of those people and divide by the total number of students in the school. And so you have people who are not in the class. The gym teacher is not in the class. The librarian is not in the class. So you actually have, if the school records or documents say 25 ratio of 1 to 25, It's higher, it's 1 to 28, 1 to 30. So when you have one teacher with 28, even 25 students in the class, and you have one student that needs all the attention, the teacher has to leave 24 students to focus on this one student who's throwing all the materials over here and running over here and grabbing things and running over here and saying this, and so recognizing that, okay, we need to help our children learn how to play nicely with other children, to talk, to listen, use their ears to listen, to speak, use their words to express themselves rather than their hands. We need to give them opportunity to gain those social skills. Remember what I said at the beginning, it's not a failing on our part. In Nigeria, your children will be gaining those skills automatically without you noticing it, because there are people around. There are other children for them to play with. The older children will tell them, what are you doing? Leave that thing. It's not yours. All those regulations are put in place without your knowing it. And so children gain the skills. When they go to school, they already know how to behave. But here is just you and your children in the house. You have to intentionally create opportunities so that your children can learn the skills, and they learn those skills not from what you instruct them, they learn those skills from playing with other children, because other children will not take it. If your child goes to push another child, the other child will cry and sometimes push back. And so it's painful to be hit, or it's painful to be pushed. And so they cry and they gradually learn to realize, oh, I don't like it. And so when you say you didn't like it, yeah, so maybe you shouldn't do that. This is how to do. So what do you want to say to him? You want to say, give me? Yeah, so tell him, say, give me. And so they learn those skills. When they go to school, they fit in more easily. That's something very important to pay attention to. Okay, so I'll go on. Please, if anybody wants to contribute, put your hand up or jump in. Otherwise, I'll go on to talk about advocacy. Okay, so
Ibiemi has also said something. Ibiemi said in Nigeria also, they go to school much earlier, before 2. So the socialization starts earlier in a regulated setting.
True. Yes, absolutely.
True. Very true. And I think I missed someone's feedback too. I don't know. Sorry about that. Let me try to read it. It's okay to use the look. I find myself using it a lot these days. Okay. All right, Brume also has something to say. Brume, you have the floor.
Yeah, it's not a contribution, it's a question. So I'm a victim of this cultural mismatch because I have very active kids, right? Currently, I have a son in daycare, and almost every other day, the teacher calls me aside and says, we had a rough day today, right? It's either my son was running, or he was, taking stuff from other kids, or he was throwing a tantrum. It's every other day I get this, right? And I'm not always sure how to handle that with the teacher. I just feel like, she's building up a story or something, right? And I'm wondering, am I supposed to fight it? Or am I supposed to collaborate with her to, try to make it different? Because honestly speaking, he behaves himself at home, right? So some of those things, when I hear them, right, I feel like those are things that kids do normally. Kids run around, he's just 3 years old. So I just wonder how to handle that conversation with the teachers.
Okay, so that is. So there are two things. One, it could be some cultural mismatch, that your child is not gaining the socialization skills that he needs at home in the community, and so he is not. How long has he been at this childcare center?
So he started at this one in October, end of October. Okay, and before then, yes, this is an actual daycare, right? He was in home care before, and they couldn't cope because it was like a private home care in an apartment block, And the lady said, look, when the kids are going to the playground, I always have to chase your son up and down. So I can't have him anymore, right? So we had to wait until we got this current daycare, right? And for the first 3 days, they kept telling me, oh, he's a wonderful child, he's good, he's good. But suddenly we start getting this.
Okay, so that would be something to explore further than we can discuss here. So because yes, it would be I would be happy to discuss this is very personal. So we would need to discuss details.
Okay.
Yes. So I will provide my email address if you like, or Fidelia can provide you with my phone number, and then we can talk.
Yeah, you actually echoed my thought. I was just going to say that's something that has to be dealt with. Like there's a lot more to that than this session would cover. So yeah, Boomer, I will share her contact with you. And this is also open to everyone here. I was going to say this at the end. I guess I'll leave it to the end, but like I'll get her contact information across to you. I do know that Patricia is happy to support all our families after these sessions, because I know a lot of us deal with these challenges or deal with this feedback from the school. So let's just keep the session going and then we'll share that afterwards.
Thank you.
Okay, so did someone else, I thought someone else had their hand up, or was that Brume?
Yeah, I think that was me.
Okay. So in terms of advocacy, we have a responsibility. It's important that you gain knowledge of the system. You can't fight something you don't understand. So it's important that you get knowledge of the system. To make it very easy for you, there are ways of getting knowledge. So Parents of Black Children is an organization that was founded because of racism suffered by themselves as parents, and they set up their organization. So they've written a very easy read guide to navigating the education system. I'm a firm believer in not recreating the wheel. So my organization, we refer people to what Parents of Black Children have developed, because it's very easy read, it's a fun read, and it has all the information that you need is in there. So at the end of this, I will put the link to that resource. It's called Navigating the Education System. I'll put the link to that resource in the chat box and invite you to look at it. Another way that you can get information about the system is to attend workshops, and there are lots of workshops. So there are several organizations that offer workshops. My organization offers workshops as well. We have at least one workshop every month. We do things about like understanding your child's report card, or knowing your rights about the Ontario student records, different workshop contents related to what parents have indicated that they want to know about. What we find is very prevalent in the community at the time. We organize a workshop, we bring speakers to talk. So those are two very valuable ways and easier ways for you, because you're very busy, ways of getting access to information so that you understand the system. The other way is to become engaged civically. So becoming active in local politics. You need to vote when it's time to vote for school trustees. It's important to know who are the trustees in your area. Who are the trustees running for your area? Or do you have the skills when they are inviting people to step forward and nominate themselves or nominate people to come forward to run for school trustee? Would you run? If you can, think about running. Think about stepping forward to represent your family, your community, to promote equity for all the children in the area where you're running. So those are the key things. Then attending school board meetings. The school board holds meetings regularly, quarterly or monthly, or depending. Some boards hold their meetings monthly. Making time. You may not be able to attend every month, but at least every other month, once a quarter, you are there. You want to be visible. You want to be in front. You want to be at that table where they are discussing things, because everything they discuss affects your child. If they are discussing special education and they are talking about reducing special education workers or whatever it is they're talking about, you want to be part of it. You want your voice to be heard at those meetings. You want your skin color to be in those meetings, because most of the time it is white parents, Caucasian parents who are at those meetings. They have very little. We have allies. There are Caucasians who are allies, but you don't know what you don't know. I'll give you a very good example. Me as Nigerian, I thought only the Nigerian way. There are some ways of thinking that I had. So very silly example. I never saw a pregnant woman in Nigeria. Pregnant women always wear bubu or tie wrapper. The stomach, it doesn't show. When my husband and I lived in England, the first time I saw a pregnant woman with very tight clothes, the whole stomach was showing, I thought, what's wrong with this woman? Why is she going out like this? It was unconscious, because I'd never seen a woman pregnant, without bubu or wrapper or something. And it threw me back. I went away thinking, like, what kind of woman is this? And then I realized, it took some time, and then I realized, what am I thinking? So should she be ashamed of her pregnancy? She's pregnant, she's having a baby, it's a wonderful thing. Why do I think that she should hide it? And so I had to challenge my own thinking and free myself of that thought that came because of my lack of exposure to any other way but the Nigerian way. So sometimes racism is just that, is ignorance, it's a lack of awareness. So you cannot expect Caucasians to understand your culture, to understand what you're bringing to the table, and to advocate for you in your absence. You have to increase, we have to increase the number of people of our skin color, of our culture, attending school board meetings. Very important. So don't give yourself the excuse, don't allow yourself the alternative. Make time, invest that time in your children's future. If you own the house where you live, part of your property taxes is what is supporting, providing for the schools in your area. So you have a responsibility to know it's your money, you're paying for it. So pulling your children out and sending them to public school, you're paying for school twice. You're paying a tax for the public school, and then you are paying school fees for the private school. So recognize that and go and play your part in attending the school board meetings. Join your school council. Every school has a school council that's made up of parents and the school staff, the school community. Join the school council. If you live in a group of where you have a network of yourselves, appoint yourself, say you, so that one person is not having so much responsibility. You go and join school council. In this school, you have several of you in the school, you join school council, I will attend, two of us will attend the board meetings, two of us. Put yourselves in prominent positions, make yourselves available, so that when you are discussing things, it's your children. You are part of the decision making. So you have regional school board committees, you have parent-teacher meetings. Make sure you attend parent-teacher meetings. Make sure your child's teacher knows you. Make sure you know the guidance counselor of the school. Make your face available. You don't need to go volunteering every time the school is having something, but at least once a year for a major thing, make yourself available. Come forward, show yourself. In Nigeria, people pay a lot of money to put their children in school, and then they don't worry about it. But the young people are telling us, we have a survey, and the young people are telling us what they have done, what they regret, the kind of things that they got into that their parents never knew about, that is for some of them, a stumbling block for them today because of their parents not getting involved in their school. And that is it in Nigeria. Here, it's even worse. You can't afford to just not be involved. It's different. So recognizing that this is very different, I have to be involved. You are advocating for your children. You're making sure that you're making the understanding of your culture, your needs, your children's needs, you're bringing it to the table so that when they're making decisions, for example, when they made decisions to put police in schools, Black parents were not at that table. Because if Black parents had been at that table, that decision would not have passed. And so every school board is now fighting to unwind it, to remove police from schools. So it's important, get civically engaged in these ways. Go talk to the principal, vice principal. Don't be afraid to let people know who you are. Your level of education, it makes a difference. And I'll give you an example. I was presenting to a cultural society, Ghanaian Cultural Society, Ghanaian Association. And somebody said the child had been having trouble in school consistently. He was coming back with negative report. They were sending him home from school and stuff. And his father was working, could not go to the school. And so a member of the Ghanaian community decided he would go to the boys' school. He went, met with the teacher and gave the teacher his card and said, you know, I hope he won't get in trouble anymore where we're handling it at home. Here's what we're doing and here's what you can do and stuff like that. But if you have any problems, here's my business card. Just call me, I will come. The teacher saw his business card. He's a professor at York University. That was the last time the boy got into trouble in school. That was the last time the boy came back with a negative report. From then on, all his report, all his behavior was positive. Why? Because the teacher realized, this boy has educated people behind him and they won't take nonsense. That was the end of it. So was the boy behaving badly before or not behaving badly before? Who knows? He was just an easy pick. So his behavior may have been the same as every other person, but someone to blame with the assumption that this one doesn't have people. So for whatever reason was, whatever was going on in that classroom, that professor going to the classroom was the last time the boy was in trouble, and he's doing well in school. Okay, so very important to be engaged and be assertive. I hear parents tell me, the school have made me nervous. They ask me, do I speak English? So when I go, when I'm going to school, if they go school now, they think I go talk that English. Are they? Not allowing the school intimidate you, letting them know, yes, I speak English and I speak very many languages. Like one of the participants said here, I speak various languages. If you pay attention, you will hear me. I'm happy to speak slower so that you can hear me, but I'm speaking English. Because when you bow into trying to change your language or trying to modify how you're speaking, then you limit what you want to say because you're trying to think it through before you bring it out of your mouth. And then you're allowing that transposition to your child. The next question will be, well, does your child speak English? And maybe we should put them in ESL. So being assertive, being confident and standing tall and saying, okay, no, you don't understand, I'll speak slower. I'm happy to speak slower. I'm speaking English. I have a Nigerian accent and that's fine. I speak many languages. So let's talk. The last bit that we want to pay attention to, now remember, we're talking a lot and we will go into details if I get invited back or if you attend any of our workshops. We'll go into details into each specific section of what we're talking about. For today, the last thing that we need to pay attention to is being the ambassador for your child. Do not on any account side with the childcare center or side with the school against your child. Do not go to talk to the child's teacher or the school sends report home with your child and then you punish your child. Do not do that. Always give opportunity for there to be misunderstanding. The first thing you want to do is hear your child's side of the story. That is the first thing you want to do. I worked in childcare. when in childcare, when a Caucasian parent would come in and we say, oh, we had a bad day today. And very, very clearly, when you talk to a Caucasian parent, typically the educator will say, oh, we had a bad day today. When educators talk to parents of color, they will say, so and so had a bad day today. But when we say to the Caucasian parent, oh, we had a bad day today, the parent squats down 9 out of 10 times, squats down to the child's level and says, oh, did you have a bad day? Tell me what happened. They go straight to hear from their child. Their child does not get a sense of my mom and the teacher are ganging up against me. Remember that your child, you are the safety for your child. You have to join your child to say, oh, let me understand from your point of view. Did you have a bad day? What happened? Tell me. Not rejecting, not castigating, not yelling, not pushing, but being gentle, open and welcoming, supportive. That sends the message to the teacher immediately that they cannot drive a wedge between you and your child, and you're not going to force your child into anything. This is very important. My biggest focus is on the child. It tells the child that they are safe, they are secure with you. That's the message you always want to give your child. You will handle whatever needs to be handled, but first and foremost, child, I love you, I trust you, you are safe, you are secure. So whatever it is, we will deal with it. That's the message you want to give your child. An important message that you're passing to the teacher is that you know your child, you listen to your child, you have a good relationship with your child. Teachers are trained to police people of color. And I know this, and again, I'm dealing with it, and I'll give you a very good example. My daughter's studying early childhood development. I guess I'm a good role model. And so she comes home last week and she says, oh, she's in second year, and she says, oh, today we were talking about spanking. And then she says to us, what do you think about spanking? And so I asked her, oh, well, how did it go? What did you think about it? And she said, no, you guys tell me, what do you think of spanking? Why do I need to tell you what I think of spanking? What do you think about the class? And then she talked about the professor says, oh, I'm so happy. People are no longer spanking. A few years ago, people were talking of spanking, and it's something about destroying the child's self-esteem, and it's so damaging to a child and all that, and romanticizing this. And so I said to my daughter, so your professor is teaching you, what your professor is teaching you is to disregard and to be disrespectful towards people of culture from three quarters of the world. What your professor is telling you is that there is only one way to parent, and that is the mainstream upper class Canadian way. And mind you, the mainstream upper class Canadian way, they go into the house quietly and they spank their children very quietly, not abuse. And then I pulled out the criminal code, section 43, and showed it to her and said, the law of Canada says anybody with authority, in a position of authority over children, has the right to use physical discipline with reasonable force, without the use of instruments and not on the head. So that's an important conversation to be had. When professors stand and teach students in this way, and this is why there's a big push to put diversity in the curriculum, and it's working, it's coming, it's slow, it's coming very slowly. But the educator is not thinking, I want to be racist. But the educator has been trained, like even my daughter who goes to Nigeria and has seen so many people spanked and knows about spanking and stuff, is trained that spanking is an evil thing, is so damaging, and so when they see parents in relation to their children and they think, I wonder if the way this parent is talking to this child, maybe maybe they're going to spank them. Maybe they spank them at home. Then therefore the teachers and the educators begin to observe closely, begin to police parents, and begin to put documentation in place to report to Children's Aid Society, not because they are being racist, but they have been trained to watch for certain things. And those certain things are very easily identified among people of color. So that your messaging, when you come down to your child's level and draw them into your arms to say, tell me about your day. Did you have a bad day? It tells the teacher, oh, there's a good relationship between these two. There's nothing to worry about. Okay, so you have to.
It's good. It's really good.
Sorry? Was that a question?
No, she unmuted herself or himself.
So you have to remember, there's nobody else. It's just me and my child here. This child is mine forever. We are one. So the teacher is passing that year, is going to be 1 year, and then your child will be with another teacher, or that teacher is a job, will quit the job and go somewhere. Your child is not going to quit being your child. You are not going to quit being your child's parent. You must remember, I am the ambassador for my child. So always first listen to your child. Listen to your child. Pay attention to what your child has to say. Believe your child, support your child, validate your child. I know you may have had a bad day. That's okay. We all have bad days. You remember sometimes daddy shouts. That's a bad day for daddy. So it's okay. So what can we do? What do you think we need to change? And how can I help you make that change? Okay. So any questions? Because now I have questions. Okay, I'll go to my questions. So 1, your 9-year-old child comes from school and asks, is it right for my teacher to tell me I'm annoying? You think your child is annoying most of the time yourself. How do you deal with this?
Just my typical self. I'm the only one allowed to say my child is annoying. I'll be very mad and I'll follow up with the teacher.
Okay.
Exactly what I would do too. I'll follow up with the teacher. I want to know why they said my child is annoying.
Okay. Okay.
I would ask my child in what context the teacher said it, and then follow up with the teacher.
Okay. So I'm happy everybody is following up with the teacher. Under no scenario should a teacher tell your child that he's annoying or she's annoying. They may think it in their head. You may think that your child is annoying, but the teacher has no right to use negative words in any way on children. So because that tells the child what the teacher thinks of them. The teachers have a really big impact on how children feel about themselves. So why would the teacher allow himself or herself to be so demeaning towards my child? So regardless of what my child has done, I don't even want to know what my child has done. And this is a real case that we worked with. And so we supported the parent to say, are you kidding me? The parent said that, well, he can be very annoying, really, because he does things at the last minute. I said, regardless, the teacher has no right to talk to your child that way. And so when the parent called the school to say, my child, it took several days before she was convinced to call. When she called the teacher to say, my child came home the other day and asked, is it right for you? He came back looking very sad and asked me this question. And I'm going to bring it to the principal. The teacher started begging immediately. The teacher apologized, said, oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize he heard me. It was just this, and it will never happen again. I promise you it will never happen again. And I'm going to apologize to him when he comes in the next time, I think the next day or something. I'm going to apologize very sincerely. We don't need to escalate this to the principal. And the teacher has changed in her attitude towards that child. If the parent had just taken it and not addressed it, the teacher's behavior would increase negatively towards the boy because he has nobody to protect him. The teacher's work is very frustrating. To play devil's advocate, the work of the teacher is very hard, very frustrating. There are so many check marks, there are check boxes, there are so many things. It's not, you know, what is that term? A walk in the park. But that is the profession that she has taken on. It's their responsibility to treat every child with respect. So let's look at our second scenario. Your 4-year-old, Olabukola.
Thank you. I have it, and you've gone beyond that part. I'm still just trying to digest it. I have a question about what you said when you were talking about not ever siding with the teachers, you know, when they make a report about your child. So if they have told me now that my child was disrupting class at some point, and then my child comes home and I say, were you really disrupting the class today? And he says, yes. How do I handle that? Right? I don't know. Does it mean I shouldn't address it with him? Like, you shouldn't be doing that, young man, right? I don't know.
Yeah, so thank you for that. So your child comes home and says, the teacher says it was disruptive, and you say, oh, tell me about your day. So you don't want to ask about the way disruptive. Tell me about your day. And so they tell you about the day and all that and all that. And was there anything that you didn't like? Was there any disruption? So who was disruptive in class today? And then they say, oh yeah, I was disruptive. I did this, I did that. What can we do better? So how can you, what is the situation? You want to think, what skills does my child need? And what can I do to help them learn those skills? And then your next action would be to have a meeting, book a meeting with the teacher, sit down to say, okay, here is what is happening. Here is what my child has said. Here are the skills that I have identified he needs to learn. Let's work together, develop strategies to help him learn those skills. Because you always have to bring it back to what skills am I seeing that my child is lacking? Even in home discipline and stuff, it's about learning to be an adult. We want children to, whatever you determine, the goals you set for the kind of person you want your child to grow into. And so you're taking intentional steps to support them going there. So it's all about skills. What does this behavior tell me that they need to learn, and what can I provide to support their learning, their practice of that skills until they have it in place? So you want to first talk with your child gently, not accusing, and then it also provides the opportunity to get them to talk about their day, not what did you disrupt, because that's the end, but just about your whole day. And then work out strategies, agree with your child, and then meet with the teacher to say, you know what, we had a conversation, my son and I, and here's what we think that's happening. And here are skills that I, as a parent, have realized my child needs to learn. And so here are things I'm doing at home to support their learning. Here are things, what can you do in your environment to support, in the classroom environment to support the learning? Let's agree on one strategy to put in place, or two maximum strategies to put in place, so that he can practice the skills he needs until he gets better. And you're only working on one challenge at a time. You don't have 10 challenges. Does that help?
Yes, very much. Thank you.
So your 4-year-old frequently comes home with several reports of negative behaviors. So such as pushing others, not sitting to complete tasks, engaging in rough play in her daily journal. So how do you deal with this?
Hello. Hi. May I contribute to this?
Please.
Okay, this is a bit on a personal level. Not every single, just a few of these traits here. I actually did experience with my own son when he was 4 years old. He would not sit in a spot. He was extremely active. He was rough to a point, not too much, but the way he would play, other children would find offensive and disturbing, and the teacher would be really upset about it. So she brought it to my notice. What I did was I had to ask her a few questions. Now, this is kindergarten. Before we came to Canada, he used to go to Montessori school. He's the kind of child that loves academic work. So he loves to read, he loves to write, he loves to be engaged all the time. When after speaking with her, I got to realize that he wasn't doing any of these things. He was just left to just play. It was just play, play, play. So I said, okay, what I believe you should do is when you see him doing these things, it means that he is bored, probably. He needs to get active. He needs to get engaged in some way. If you can get him to sit and read or sit and write, get to do something instead of just being in a playful mood all the time, that would assist him a lot. So she said, okay, she would try that. And she did. And anytime she would notice that he gets really, really active, she would say, okay, come and sit here, let's write, or come and sit here, let's read, or sit, let's do this, some activity. And he would sit and concentrate. And in that way, he would not be doing, exhibiting any of these behaviors. And after a couple of weeks, he stopped because she realized that he needs to get engaged. Being idle or this for him in particular, he just had to be engaged. So she would do that with him, and that problem was solved.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that. So everyone can see that this parent was very proactive in going to the school to sit down and discuss strategies. So apologizing to the teacher doesn't cut it. Actually, in this case of the 4-year-old where the school called police on the child, at the meeting, the principal kept saying, oh, and mom apologized for this. And then this, and mom apologized. And then this, and mom apologized. So all those apologies became an indictment, whereas the apologies are a Nigerian way of saying, hey, sorry. It's not taking responsibility for something, it's saying sorry. So holding back from apologizing to the teacher, but coming in to say, okay, here are strategies. Here's what I'm thinking as a parent. Here are strategies. Let's work on it together. One thing at a time. Somebody has her hand up, Cynthia.
Yeah, thank you so much. I was going to echo what she just said, but yeah, my son has similar issues. So we worked with the daycare, and that was the end of the problem, just like the previous speaker did. So parents really need to engage with wherever their kids are. And most times the problem gets solved. Not all the time. Some daycares and schools are very unreasonable, but most times it's very important that we engage with them and find solutions of some of these problems our kids are having. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. So engaging positively, coming in as the highly educated people that we are to say, hey, let's have a discussion. We need to sit down and work together to develop strategies. I have my understanding as the parent. I'm the expert on my child, and you're the expert in the classroom. So let's sit down and collaboratively work on some strategies that will support my child to gain these skills. That's it. It's just about getting an opportunity to practice the emerging skills or the needed skills. So I see that we have 1 more minute. I don't want to keep people longer than the time allotted. I'm very respectful of time and Saturday. So I will just summarize by saying, I would be happy to come back. We have it is our platform, even though I'm not in the region of Waterloo. But I'm happy to come back at any time to continue the conversation. We're having a discussion at the end of this month that I'm putting together with Olabukanla. And so we will have a conversation platform just to talk about experiences in the school board. I'll skip us forward to some resources that I want to provide for us today. I will move beyond all of this. So here are things that I think I want to leave us with today. One, there's a look-see developmental checklist. I'll put once I stop screen share, I will put the link in the chat box. It's a checklist that helps parents understand about child development. Let me end this. So I'll show you the checklist in a minute. And then I'm going to share the link for navigating the education system, the Parents of Black Children write-up. It's a lot of fun and it's an easy read. It will give you comprehensive understanding of the education system. Then I want to let you know that my organization, we have a monthly chat with a child development consultant. So if you have questions, if you have concerns about your child's development, you want to know more, just register and attend. It's once a month, the third Wednesday of the month. But if the next one is on the 23rd, I think next Wednesday is the next session. Fidelia will share my contact information. I'll put it actually in the email, in the chat box, and you can reach out to register. And then we also have, this is very important, we also have an African Parents Survey. I mentioned the survey of youth. We have a survey for African parents because we're looking to understand the experiences of our parents from the continental African perspective. There's no disaggregated data. So when you're looking at data, education data, you see Black students, you don't see much, you don't see actually continental Africans, you don't see the backgrounds, Nigeria, Ghana, different places. We're trying to begin to build that framework because our children may be needing different things from children from the Caribbean countries. So please, I'm going to put that also in the chat box. Please participate. So, before I'll stop here. If your language is missing here, share your language with me and I'll add it to my list. Somebody had their hand up.
Yes, I was actually going to say, Patricia, if you do not mind, and to everyone here, we have 37 persons here, if you do not mind us extending this to 6:10, the reason being that I know some of us may have questions, just to entertain those questions so that we all leave with a sense of, okay, we got our questions answered. So if you don't mind, please, let's just extend it to 6:10. Ngozi, you have the floor. Patricia, are you okay with that?
I'm okay with that.
Okay.
Before Ngozi takes the floor, can I quickly show the look-see?
Okay, sure, please.
Okay. So I'll end this show. Okay. I'm still sharing my screen. This is a sample of the look-see developmental checklist. This is for a 4-year-old. So it's free. Anybody, any parent in Ontario can register and get the child. It goes up to age 6 years, and it tells you what the expectations are. So you need to look at it. What I love about, there are several child development tracking tools, but what I love about this one is that it gives you the tips, what you can be doing. So for the time that you're going to be engaging with your child or thinking about opportunities that you want to provide for your child to practice skills, the look-see gives you that. It's a very expensive screen, but the government of Ontario pays for it so that everybody, as long as you have an Ontario postal code, you access it for free. So that's it, and I will stop my share now. Stop share. And then I can see people's faces.
Thank you very much, Patricia. Ngozi, you have the floor. Ngozi? Okay, does anyone else have a question?
Oh, sorry, I didn't know I was on mute. Sorry, can you hear me now?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so something came to my mind throughout this discussion that I just want to chip in. I know we are so busy. Like I was just listening to all this and I'm like, oh my gosh, this sounds so great. I wish we can have the time to actually implement it. If it's very important, no matter how busy you are, because I know we all are busy, no matter how busy you are, it's very important that you check in with your children whenever they come from school, how their day went, whether the teacher gave a report or not, so that you get in touch and know when something is not going well. Like I personally try to, even when I'm not home, like I call the house phone and ask them, okay, what happened today in school? Because if you are not around and probably you wait until you come back, so many things might take over and you will not be able to remember. So find a way, something that works for you and check in. And no matter how busy you are, anytime a report comes home, make sure you follow it up. It's very important. And also, no matter how the angle you're trying to, get into the discussion with your teachers, your children's teachers, also remind them that these are children. Like I purposely took the early childhood education program just to understand child development more. And when you look at the stages of development, there are certain things that children have to do at certain stages. So when such reports come home and you wonder, are these teachers actually trying to see like adults in class? Children have to be children. So there is nothing you can do about it. So always try to chip in that when you're having discussion with your teachers, children's teachers, to remind them that these are children you're actually working with, that they are not adults. Yes, but if there are some other problem behaviors that have to be, talked about, then we can look at it that way so that you don't expect that I bring an adult to you, right? And I've been in classes. I had opportunity to work as an EA in schools. I've been in classes and seen how children with their teachers in school. And when you look at it, you'll be like, okay, these are trained professionals. So no matter the report they are putting up, they are still trained to be able to handle this, right? So try to follow up with any report and get to the bottom of it. Don't let it just slip away. Don't take it for granted, no matter what it is. It's very important, no matter how busy you are. That's what came to my mind. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ngozi. It's like you took the words right out of my mouth. Thank you so much. Any other question, any other feedback, any other, words of encouragement or support to one another? Parenting is not easy.
I'd like to comment on one.
Sure.
Sorry, one more contribution before we leave. It depends. Sometimes, okay, for me personally, I pick my kids up from school, and just as I pick them up, I ask them on the spot, how was your day? Sometimes for the older kids, they would tell me what happened. It's something I've always done. Right now, my oldest son, immediately he approaches me and he would greet me and all. The next thing he would say is, see what happened today. Or my teacher is going to tell you that this happened because this happened. He starts to tell me before his teacher even lets me know anything happened. This is because you want to make sure that you develop that relationship with your children such that they come to you before anything else, before anybody else comes to you, and you know what's going on before the teacher gets involved, before the teacher even mentions anything. So they know, okay, you have my back, but see what's happening. I better tell you this quickly before you hear it from the teacher or from the principal. I know he was going to get punished the following day because someone upset him and he reacted and he said he knows I shouldn't have done this, but I did. I couldn't take it anymore. I'm going to get punished tomorrow. I knew he was going to get punished the next day. Then the teacher now tells me via email, this is what happened, but I already knew what happened. So if we could try to do that and let our kids have that relationship with us such that we are a step ahead, I believe it would help a lot. Thank you.
Miss, can
Thank
I
you
say
so
something?
much, Genevieve.
Can I still? Oh, it's already.
Sure, go for it.
I think what I would also like to add is that because of the way some of us were parented, there's this tendency of us as parents we're trying to look at how our kids' behavior is affecting our image. It's a subconscious thing that is in a lot of us. And we have to like work hard against that, because that sometimes is a challenge. Again, interestingly, in this environment where we are in, they actually don't care about image in terms of the way we see it. So we need to remove from that sense of, hey, as if, oh, my child has disgraced me in public, or is giving a sense that I'm not doing a good job at home, and so this bad behavior in school reflects badly on me. So that's so important for us to check in ourselves, because I see it in my husband on occasion, and I'm just like, well, if you remove the fact of how you think it makes you look from this thing and just try to go from the child's angle, you would achieve much better. Quick lines up with what Patricia said earlier on, that we are the safety net of our children. So we should not be focused on how their behavior, we think it reflects on us, and make that such a big deal in our minds enough to affect how we handle it. Because that may also be the point where we then be doing a lot of apologizing, which is not helpful.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Mr. Judith. You, in fact, I think you just nailed it. I'll take one more from Mudukwe and we'll call it a day.
Oh, thank you very much for the opportunity. I just want to follow up on what she said right now about parents, we are ashamed of our children. Like for me, shame is not in my agenda because the school knows me very well. Based on the women I've talked to, women whom children became very successful, the story there is that they are the parents who goes to school every time. They are the parents who threaten the school that if you're doing this to my child, I'm going to call Toronto Star on you. So if we want our children to be successful, being ashamed or maybe apologizing to the teacher won't do anything. And as a matter of fact, I told my children principal, the school principal, that when my children comes back from school every day, they have to tell me everything that happens. So even if the school don't say anything, I'm that parent who will follow up with the teacher and tell the teacher, my son told me something like this. Can you please elaborate on that? So, and immediately I see that the teacher will call me, like, oh, I'm sorry, I just thought it's not. I said it's something. Anything happen about my children, you have to let me know. Because when we look at the way, Black children, they are negatively, construct, the way they see us, very aggressive, they are not even prepared, because white children come to school, they prepare them for the best. And when Black children come, they have a different agenda for them. So it is very, very important for us as a parent. We don't have to be ashamed. So we are in Canada, and everything is so different. We have to work so hard to make sure our children have access to the quality education that they promise everyone. So that is my own contribution. We have to speak up. Keeping quiet does not solve the problem. We have to talk. If they feel that, troublemaker, it doesn't matter. In as much, my children have access to quality education and they are safe in their school, I'm good. So that is my own. Thank you.
Thank you, Modukwe. Thank you so, so much. I agree with you. I'm unapologetic about how you see me. Like, see me as that troublesome Black mom, but I am definitely going to speak up. So you're right. I just want to round this session by first of all thanking Patricia. But before I thank you, I want to re-echo some of the things that she has said. And I've seen that most importantly in this case of the 4-year-old child, just being a part of that advocacy team, it really opened my eyes to a lot of things. So if we're here and we are in doubt that there's systemic racism and that the system is not set to criminalize our kids, I think you are in denial and you're being naive. These are facts that even educators themselves, faculty, I work at Conestoga College, and when this news broke out, faculty in my department confirmed it and said, honestly, we are trained. And that the faculty told me, Fidelia, I'm ashamed to say this, but our curriculum or our training is such that it's to police Black families and Black kids. Confirm. So if you are in doubt that that is what's going on, know it today. Because I think if you understand it as a parent, you'll be more intentional about how you support your child in the school system. We're working and hoping that this changes, but right now there is systemic racism, and the way the school is structured is not structured to help our kids thrive. Let's just know that. And then secondly, what I'm going to re-echo, I know that we're here, the goal is to, have the best, good life, we're here to break generational, to, create generational wealth. We want to do all of that. Honestly, all of that will come to null if we're not particular about our kids. We have to be intentional about the well-being of our children. And how Patricia has said so is being present and, covering the void, being present, creating a safety net for our children at home, and also advocating. We cannot re-echo this again and again, that as parents, even though we are hustling, we need to create time to be involved with the school system. We need to create time to be in parent council. We need to create time to be in government. Because if we are not at the table where these decisions are made, things will not change. I have been in 2 parent councils, and I can tell you that my first entrance to each of the parent council was as if an alien came. And that's not the fault of theirs. It's because they don't see Black parents come for parent council. So we have to be very intentional about these things. Like in our hustle, we have to be intentional about making sure that our children are in a safe space. Like we're creating a system where our children can thrive. Like more than ever in the last couple of weeks, we just cannot laugh. We cannot just be so centered about making money or about the job part. We need to be very focused, very intentional about our children and the school and how they're being treated at school, what they are taught, and the school environment. Patricia, I can't say thank you enough for this. We definitely need to have a part 2, which really centers on advocacy, because I know that there is a lot about the reporting, a report card, the languages in the report card, and why parents, we should not ignore those things, because this is what affects them later in the future when they start to push them towards trade and college. So for sure, we would definitely want to have a part 2 where we are focused on advocacy. Sorry about the noise. Advocacy about and understanding the school system, understanding report cards, challenging or rather appealing report cards and all of that, and making sure some languages in the report card change. So I'll round up by saying a big thank you to you for taking your time to come out to do this for us. I want to also say a big thank you to every one of us who has come here. It shows we love and care for our kids. So thank you and God bless you. Patricia,
sorry, quick thing.
Okay.
So if there are any parents that are where your children are having difficulty, or you feel like you need help navigating the system, please reach out to us. It's a free service. Reach out, we will chat with you. We will go to the school with you if we need to. We will attend teacher meetings with you. We will support positive communication, whatever is needed to make sure that children are doing well. So reach out to us if your children are experiencing any difficulties.
Sorry,
amazing.
Quick question. What's the contact, please, to reach out? I actually asked a question in the group. Sorry to interrupt.
Oh, sorry about that.
Sorry,
no, but it's relating to the last comment that was made, right? So for new immigrants or new parents that are facing these kind of issues, right, and don't know where to get answers or clarification to suspicious or unfair treatments that they are perceiving, right? So I wanted to know if there's a body or a community where they can, instead of just asking friends here and there and getting not getting the right answer, if there's a community or a body like Patricia just mentioned. So that's what I wanted to know, the contacts. Sorry, I didn't join from the beginning, so I don't know if they shared the community.
Yes, I shared my information in my organizational information in the chat. The name of the organization is Early Childhood Development Initiative, and the email is there. The website is there as well.
I will also share this on the Nairo Telegram group. And if you are from other groups, you get it from whoever invited you. I'll post it to as many groups as I can. But most importantly, if you're on the Nairo Telegram group, you would have Patricia's contact information and a lot of the links that she shared. If you were invited by a friend, connect with your friend, they would have it and share with you. We all need to have this information readily available. Yeah. So thank you so much. That wraps up today's meeting. I don't know if Patricia is staying, but if you want to ask questions, feel free. I'll stay here until the last person drops.
Thanks, everyone. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you so much. Yeah, appreciate you, Patricia. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Very much. God bless you.
Thank you very much.
God bless.
Thank you. I was just wondering, is it possible to get a recording of this? Or
we will upload it on the Nairo YouTube page.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, Nairo YouTube channel. Sorry.
Is it possible to post the link to the channel on the chat so that we can?
Yes, we will do that as well.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Delia, so I just wanted to ask something. It's looking to me like, well, I would suggest that maybe we should consider having like a parent committee. You know how Patricia gave the example of that Ghanaian cultural group where someone who is not even a parent of the child went to the school and was able to support. We cannot deny the fact that not everyone is able to talk. Some people, it's a personality thing, right? Some people are not cut out like that. So if we have like a parent committee, we can, maybe even some parents are very busy, they work shifts and things like that. When those issues are brought to fore, we can say, okay, I'm available on that day. Well, let me just go get more information and then talk about it. I think we should begin to think about things like that so we can support one another from inside, and then if there's need to get help from outside or bigger organizations, or we need to escalate, then we can begin to do that. But for that communication bit that we've been talking about, that advocacy, that ongoing communication, I really think we should consider having a parent committee.
Amazing. Yes, I think that just so we're not duplicating committees, it's part of what our welfare takes. So before now, we've always had families who have challenges come up to Nairo executives and say, this is what we're dealing with. And we've had people attend, like support them to go to schools. Why we had to we brought Patricia in this particular case because we didn't even know about her program before until we heard about it. And so that became an extra resource for us as a body. And when this particular case happened, we just had to bring her on board. So yes, Nairo has, we don't call it parent committee, but it's part of what our welfare does. When issues like this come to our table, we find like a support system that goes to school with them. But good thing now we have Patricia even. So
okay, yes. Thanks for that. Can you include that on maybe the Nairo website as one of the issues that the welfare committee treats? Okay. Because I had these issues when we just came to Canada, but they are sorted. But if I had known, maybe I would have gotten help from the welfare committee, right? I think other people too probably wouldn't even think of going to the welfare committee for something like that, So maybe if we could include it on the website and then some regular communication around it, that this is what we do. Come to us if you need help like this, so things like that. Thank you.
Fantastic. Noted. We will do that. Noted. Guys, Patricia has to go. Thank you so much.
Thanks. It seems like there are no more questions for me, so I'll leave. Have a lovely weekend, everyone. And thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Patricia. Thank you. Thank you.
Bye. God bless.
Bless you.